Okay, I hate opening videos with warnings, but I always do try to point out if there's a big spoiler for something newish, and by newish I mean within the last month and a half, 2 months. After that, if you haven't seen it, not that, you don't have a busy life, but I don't think the world can bend over backwards for you, because I miss stuff all the time, and then you just end up seeing it. But there are some spoilers for Mandalorian Season 2 is what I'm getting at in here, with a specific character. He's in the title. I don't know why you clicked this if you haven't watched that, but here you are. So this is your warning to skedaddle. And hey, whether you watch the rest of this video or not, please leave a like if you enjoyed my voice for the first 30 seconds. Some nice little ASMR for your relationship. Play it later for your girlfriend or whatever,
Yeah, it works for me. Yeah.
Helps a lot.
Yeah.
So here's the thing with this. The Book of Boba Fett has been announced. By the way, was that a fair way to say it? It's kind of one of those things where it's like, I don't think you should purposely spoil stuff for somebody, but if we're months out or something, right, it's like, come on, it's the internet, it's out there. What are you going to do? I mean, at least we're not, hey, look, we're trying to ruin this for you. My point is just, there's spoilers.
It is, yeah, and honestly, the difference is, too, is I see a lot of, I've had a lot of Star Wars spoilers hit me recently, especially for Rebels. I'm watching through it for the first time, because, first of all, Google's listening to everything that I say, so then it pops up in my recommended feed.
Yeah, that's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's annoying. But then also, the worst part is, you're not going to do this, but, like, in the title, it says exactly, like, a ginormous spoiler.
Oh, so, like, if I put in the title, like, Boba Fett returns in The Mandalorian this episode and kills this person.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't do that. You just say, like,
no.
we're excited about Boba Fett, whatever. So it's a totally different thing. But
sorry, that was a little tangent. People get really pissy about spoilers.
It makes sense.
Rightfully so.
It's the worst. Yeah, it's the worst.
It is the worst. Here's the thing. We want to take a look at 5 things that fans want to see from the Book of Boba Fett going forward. The spin-off show from The Mandalorian. We're going to run through these real quick. Not a long video, so let's hop right into it.
Let's do it.
Number 5. The first one is exploration of criminal organizations. Now, this isn't something that needs to be, gone super into depth with, but some interesting parts of Star Wars in the last few years, especially actually since the Disney acquisition, I can't believe I'm saying that, is the criminal organizations. They've actually done a pretty good job with things like Crimson Dawn and the other crime families and syndicates and stuff. This does seem like it will have something to do with that. I mean, this whole thing starts in the post-credit scene with Boba Fett walking into Jabba's old palace, which is now Bib Fortuna's palace, shooting him in the chest, killing a bunch of other people, and taking his throne. We know also that Boba Fett says he doesn't pledge his allegiance to anyone specifically, but he does have honorable ideals. We see that when he, actually follows through with Mando. He could have just left after he got his armor, but he sticks with him to help get Grogu back. So there is some stuff that could be interesting here, because you have Boba Fett essentially placed at the head of a crime syndicate or a, palace of the boss of one of the criminal hut organizations in the past, and it's someone with some honor. So how will that play out?
It'll be really interesting. And like you said, I think that they've done a really good job recently of fleshing that out and really getting into what the crime syndicates are and how they work and how they operate. Like, we saw that, I think, a lot recently for me. It was Clone Wars, the show. Was that like a Disney thing for the most part, right? Just to make sure?
Well, Clone Wars was originally under, Dave Filoni and George Lucas and all them. And then the 7th season was Disney.
Oh, it was?
The newest season. But they did get into it there as well, because actually, Darth Maul was at the head of the Mandalorians during that, but also he was communicating with the other crime syndicates. Dryden Voss was there on the communication, remember?
Yeah,
he shows up.
Yes.
Because this is years before Solo, but he shows up. So there are ties into the crime organizations right there.
I think that's fascinating. I loved what Clone Wars did with that and how they implemented that into the show. And there was actually some really major episodes that happened with those crime organizations involved. So I'd love to see what they do with that with Boba Fett, now he could get engaged in that, how that would work with him. I think he's a fascinating character, and you see that a lot in The Mandalorian 2, in season 2, like how he starts to really, I don't know, like he talks more, he's got more of a personality, it feels like, in that show they give it to him.
Yeah,
so I really
because
like
every time we saw him in the past, he was either directly subservient to someone like Vader, where he was like on the job and wouldn't say much. He was also much younger. Or we would see him in the middle of a fight.
Yes.
So we just never heard anything out of him, really.
No.
Now we do.
Now we get like a personality. He's kind of like sassy and sarcastic, which I love. I think it'll be really fun to see what he does, especially at like as he's leading an organization, and maybe he like starts to build up his own thing. Like, who knows?
I absolutely agree. Number 4! Relationship or character interactions between Boba Fett and Fennec. The relationship between Boba Fett and Fennec is not very well explained in The Mandalorian. I mean, really, it just comes down to Boba Fett saved Fennec's life, so Fennec is indebted to Boba Fett.
Yeah, that's it.
So she works for him or with him as a partner to protect him and also go with him on his mission. It seems like he calls the shots mainly, but it would be interesting to see more how those characters interact. They don't even talk that much together in The Mandalorian, only a few times. They're always in groups, they just don't say much. Fennec's interesting. Boba Fett is a fan favorite. I do think that these two play well off of each other, and so I definitely want to see that more than just they're both in the same room.
Yeah, and like you were saying before too, before we started recording, it doesn't have to be like a romantic thing. I just like to see.
But it can be.
It can be.
If I can see like a Fennec scene that's romantic, I'm not going to turn it down.
Right. I mean, you're not going to be offended. Is what you're saying.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening in Star Wars.
Yeah. Right.
The last time I saw a romantic scene in Star Wars, someone was hovering a pear into someone's mouth.
What?
Yeah, Attack of the Clones.
Oh yeah, that's terrible. Yeah, what an abomination. Yeah, I think that'd be great. I'd love to see their relationship actually become like something with substance, because yeah, as of right now, it's pretty surface level. It's, hey, I saved you, you owe me your life, boom, let's move on with that. And I'd like to see how that develops and maybe how they become like even if it was like a romantic thing, it'd be interesting to see like their rise to power as like a couple in the galaxy, I guess.
Was this The Notebook?
No,
it doesn't have to go that way, but whatever you choose to do, just please make it interesting. More than just both of them together.
Absolutely.
Whether they're friends or going at it, and I get my Fennec scene.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I don't want it to be corny. I want it to be...
No, just give me
maybe it's better if they're not...
No, give me the Fennec scene.
Oh, sure, you're right. No, you're right.
Number 3. So the next one we have is the inclusion of other characters where they fit. Now, this was something you brought up with Ahsoka. Now, here's my thing on Ahsoka. I don't think Ahsoka should just be thrown into every show, but I do think that if there's a place to cross this over with other shows in the universe, whether that's Ahsoka, whether that's The Mandalorian going forward, Rangers of the New Republic, whatever you want, and it makes sense, go for it. That does help expand the world. Star Wars is really known for where it crosses over, where it's character interactions. It's like, oh, that's Dryden Voss. He's from Solo. Just seeing those things, like I said, is a big world builder in Star Wars. So anything like that you can do that fits organically, I think is a good idea.
I think it'd be really cool, especially that we just saw Ahsoka and Mandalorian, Boba Fett, all those guys interacting in this recent season. And they played really well off of each other. And with Cara Dune possibly being involved in it's the Rangers of the New Republic, right?
Well, she might be involved in that, although I was seeing reports that was not the supposed spin-off for her.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I mean, but I could definitely see her showing up in it.
But yeah,
it's confusing. We don't have a lot of information other than certain little snippets.
Okay. But yeah, even if she showed up too, there's a lot of potential for these characters to kind of work together again. And even if it's like short little cameos, like Ahsoka had in Mandalorian, it wasn't like this giant thing. She had one episode and that was it. She didn't make it to the end like Boba Fett did once he showed up.
Oh yeah, he was in like 3.
Yeah, he was in a good amount of the season. And so I think if they're able to just kind of sprinkle that in and make it fun that way, that's great. But I think that Boba would be fine, having his own show and really focusing on him and allowing him and Fennec and seeing that growth of the crime organization maybe, or whatever he's going to do. But mixing in those characters, like you said, would be really cool to see, especially because of the interactions and now the past history that he has with all of these other characters that now have their own shows. So,
yeah, absolutely. Especially because he helps tie together the trilogies. It's interesting because Boba Fett, he's a prequel character and he's an original trilogy character, and now he lived on past the original trilogy. So he's he's like Ahsoka. He's sort of a through line through a majority of the Star Wars universe.
Yes, for sure.
Of continuity. So that's pretty cool. Number 2. The next one that we have is actually more incredible action. This is something I can't see them not delivering on, but it's like a for sure thing that I think all fans want. Boba Fett just slaughtering people, to be honest.
It's the best.
Yeah. When he shows up in Mando Season 2 and he just takes out all those stormtroopers and everything, at first it's just without even a suit of armor. By the way, that was awesome because they kind of show the whole, not to relate this to the MCU, but kind of if you're nothing without that armor, you shouldn't have it. Boba Fett takes out just a squad of stormtroopers with nothing. He has basically, I forget what the name of the weapon is. It's actually a weapon based off an Australian weapon, I believe, for hand-to-hand combat. but it's basically a staff with a curve on the end. I forget the name of it. But he takes out a whole
like a dozen
bunch
stormtroopers,
of stormtroopers with just that. You know, and that's pretty incredible. And then we see him once he actually is using his rifle and his suit again as well, which he had the rifle, but he mainly used hand-to-hand. When we actually see him using those things as well, we see how skilled he is. You know, Boba Fett got a bad rap because in episode 6 he got caught off guard. I'm not saying the writing was perfect on that at all, but Boba Fett lands and then he's shooting at Luke. So in front of him he has a Jedi Knight, kind of. You know, he's basically a Jedi Knight at this point. And then behind him he has Han Solo, and Han Solo turns, and this was right after Boba Fett's rifle got destroyed by the lightsaber. Right. Han Solo turns and nicks the jetpack with the spear he had, which causes the jetpack to ignite, which throws Boba Fett into the Sarlacc.
Right.
So Boba Fett was not seen at his best moment there. Because of that, Boba Fett in the original trilogy was kind of made fun of a little bit.
Memed on a bit.
Yeah, people think he's cool, but they were like, dude, the guy got taken out by a blind guy with a stick. What happened here? But it seems like this is really an attempt to make Boba Fett awesome again. Some would say make Boba Fett great again.
I was going to say the joke was right there for the taking, yeah. Yeah, it really is. I think I really enjoyed it too. One of the coolest scenes of the entire Mandalorian season 2 was when he was in the Slave 1 and he drops that seismic pulse, I think is what it's called.
Oh, the seismic charge.
That's what it is, yeah.
I like when Obi-Wan's seismic charges. I still think of that every time I see it. And when it went off, it's like, brrr.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
And it just incinerates both TIE fighters.
Literally, I had to change my pants out.
Who didn't, dude?
Yeah, it was insane.
It was outrageous. And it was
unfair.
It was, and it was fun because after playing Battlefront 2, even though this is not related at all, playing Battlefront 2 and driving that thing around and dropping it, and you hear that noise, and then to hear it in the show, it was like, oh, all my hours in the Slave 1, and this is how it actually is, you know?
Dude, that's the thing is, like, I was pretty sure Boba Fett was coming back because of stuff I saw, but I didn't see any context to anything. I just saw his armor in a spoiler online, so I was like, I wonder if he's back. When I saw Grogu sitting on the pillar, and then, you know, Mando looked up into the sky and you see the ship coming down and it's Slave 1.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's here, dude. I know.
This is it. Yeah, I don't know. It would be great to see more incredible action, both in the ship and out of the ship, with Boba Fett and with Fennec. She's really powerful too, actually. Like, I mean, she took out a ton of people on her own. She's extremely skilled.
Yes.
And she's a really cool character. I do like with this that they're not just relying on pure nostalgia. They are bringing in new characters with it too. I think it would be very easy to just be like, Boba Fett solo show, just him, says some one-liners, cool, right? But it does seem like they're trying to write in new characters that are awesome as well to play off him. Because I think Star Wars has had a problem with new characters for a while. You know, and this is, as someone who likes the sequel trilogy, I don't want to get too far into that.
Yeah.
But they've had a really hard time making characters relatable to other people that they love. Mandalorian is doing a great job of that, and it seems like Boba Fett will too.
Number one.
That is getting into the relationship actually between Boba Fett and the Mandalorian Heritage. Now, this is something that's touched on in the show with Bo-Katan, with Boba, with Mando. This is very interesting because it's extremely different for him, and it was different for his father than any other Mandalorian we've seen. There's been sort of 3 groups now introduced, and I guess Boba Fett and Jango Fett are their own group in a way. There is the honorable Mandalorian who wants to take back the homeworld. That's kind of the Bo-Katan character. They're willing to take off their helmets. They're not like a religious zealot, but they do believe in Mandalore, like, or the ways of Mandalore in terms of, you know, honor and all this stuff, and they respect their heritage, like the Darksaber, for example. There's even elements of their heritage they respect more than Mando does, like the Darksaber. He has no idea what that is. He doesn't even care. You know, he doesn't care that much about that now.
You see that at the end of the show.
Yeah, he's like, here, take it.
I don't want it.
I don't care. Yeah, like,
no, you have to take. She has to win it from you. No, don't be stupid. Take it.
But the interesting thing is he's so high and mighty about his damn helmet. You know, like, because that's what he places his value in with the way. Because then you also have the Watch, which is, to my understanding, is not at all related to the Death Watch. That's my understanding, because they said that they broke away from Mandalore a long time ago, and that they want to establish the old ways, which is like, keep your helmet on, don't expose your face. If you do, you have to give up your helmet. All this stuff. They're sort of like a religious cult in a way with Mandalore. and Mandalorian values. That's a different type of Mandalorian. And then you have Boba Fett. He's probably the most unique out of them because he's so weird with it. He even says straight up, I don't place my my allegiance with any group. You know, it's like, yes, he's Mandalorian, but he doesn't call himself Mandalorian. Like, even when Bo-Katan says, I like, Bo-Katan with her whole entourage is kind of like, well, you're no Mandalorian. You know, it's like, I never said I was. You know,
that's true. Yeah, I remember
he
that.
He just straight up says, I never said I was a Mandalorian. And so it's interesting because, yes, he doesn't call himself a Mandalorian, but he technically is, because Mando recognizes him as one. Because at the end, where Boba shows him, hey, my father's, you know, DNA was encoded into the armor, my father was a foundling with the Mandalorians, Mando recognizes Boba as one before that and says, well, then this armor belongs to you. This is like a devout Mandalorian saying, well, then you are one, even though Boba Fett doesn't pledge his allegiance to the group. So it's interesting, how will that play out in his character? What does that mean? He clearly has a sense of honor, otherwise he wouldn't have stuck with Mando throughout season 2. So what does that mean for the show and how he interacts with that heritage, I guess?
Yeah, it'll be fascinating what they do with that. And I was going to say too quickly, this isn't really related to Boba Fett, but I thought it was interesting how Mando himself changed throughout season 2 to where, like, he, by the end of it, obviously we talked about spoilers, but like at the very last scene, takes off his helmet. We see him take off his helmet a few times. He seems to kind of shift away from that religious zealot part and kind of move towards the Bo-Katan aspect of it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like that part of the Mandalorian.
He doesn't take it off like he loves it.
No.
But he's willing to.
Yes.
Like in important moments.
Right. Which is still like a big shift, because even that conversation with Mayfeld, Bill Burr's character, like that was, I think, a big thing for Mandalorian too, for Mando. So I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. But
it is.
I'm curious to see what Boba Fett does with that too, because they touch on it, and it's obviously a big thing, especially with the Clone Wars show in season 7, like the Siege of Mandalore and everything that we saw there. I think people are getting a lot more invested in, like, who are the Mandalorians, what's going on with this. So it makes sense that they would deep dive into that further and give us more of an idea of like what happened with Jango, even a little bit, if there's like a cool flashback with that somehow, or I don't know, there's just a lot of really cool stuff they can do with Mandalorian Heritage.
There is. It's really awesome. Honestly, I didn't think I could care about any aspect of the lore in the new canon more than the Sith and the Jedi, because their cultural heritages are pretty neat. You know, people grafted into a religion essentially and how that works. But the Mandalorian heritage is almost more interesting than the Jedi and Sith, actually, in a way.
Especially with the Clone Wars background. Yeah, it's awesome.
I would say it's at least equally. So I don't know. It's going to be really cool to see how that plays into it. And also, if there is any interaction at all between Boba Fett and the Jedi with his, you know, with his history with them, with Mace Windu and with everything. There's no way he forgot who killed his dad. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where he goes in this. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. What do you want to see in the Book of Boba Fett? What were your thoughts on The Mandalorian Season 2? We are very interested to see those thoughts. Please like the video if you enjoyed. That does help us out more than you know. And subscribe for more content. We will see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day. And as always, everybody, stay shway.